Welcome, everybody, to Ignite Humanity Live. I'm your host, Lady JB Owen, and I'm talking today about how to ignite humanity. That's right, it's a Thursday, so we're talking about solutions. Now, you may be asking yourself, what's it going to take to ignite humanity? What can we do to make a difference in humanity? And how can I, just one person on this big planet with all these people, truly make a difference in the way humanity goes forward and how our future looks? Well, you can absolutely. We all have the power to ignite humanity. And our show is all about giving you ideas and solutions, inspiration and motivation on how you can ignite humanity in your own unique way, in your family, in your town, in your city, in your country. All kinds of wonderful things can happen because you are the spark that creates a movement and a mission for others by igniting something in them, by doing it yourself. And what we do is we talk about ignite moments, those moments in our lives that truly change us, that kind of wake us up and make us realize, like, this is the direction I wanted to go in my life. I need to go in my life. I choose to go in my life. And in this direction, I can do something to help and support others. Well, our guest today is here to talk about exactly that. Absolutely. We're going to hear from Isaac Phoenix, is a narratologist, narratologist. Oh, this is a fun word. Narratologist. I'm going to make him say the word. It's such a fun word. Who explores the impact of storytelling across various fields, including mental health, creativity, business, sociology, influence, and communication. His work focuses on using stories to foster emotional healing, enhance creativity, improv, business communications, and shape cultural identities. Isaac's goal is to empower individuals and organizations to craft compelling narratives that articulate their visions, thereby helping everyone to write their own happy ending and ignite humanity. I got to get that word. Narratologist. Is that right, Isaac? Narratologist. Tell me how to say it.
Narratologist is perfect.
Narratologist. I got it at the end. How is that? Welcome to the show. I love it. What a great, great word. And it's funny how some things roll off our tongue and other things we hiccup on. I always feel like when we hiccup on a word, it's because we're destined to learn something about it. There's something important. We need to pay attention to it. Tell me about this word because I want to learn more.
Well, I've had quite a few job titles. I definitely have ones on my resume rank higher than that, so I use those on my resume. But I enjoy this for two reasons. And reason number one is because, just like you said, it's a fascinating word, and it is absolutely a great conversation starter. But then reason number two is that as much as I've loved some of the other jobs that I've had, this one definitely touches closest to home for me because narratology is the study of story. When I was working in the transmedia field, the current narrative structures, which I used and absolutely loved, it still wasn't quite enough for me to utilize to communicate to everyone, every team, what we were trying to accomplish. So I developed my own structure. And now what I do is I take that structure and I apply it in different ways. I've moved from creativity to I currently do business branding, and I'm working my way all the way down to mental health and how it can help with that.
There we go. You back?
Yeah.
Oh, we froze. That's all right. I was just thinking, like, I like that word narrator or narratologist. Can everyone be that? Do we have to study that if we practice the art of storytelling? Is that?
So I fully believe that everyone has a story deep down inside of themselves. And so because of that, I fully believe that everyone's got that. Yes, absolutely. But overall, narratology itself is one of those things to where it definitely requires a deep dive. It's definitely its own class of how to figure out not just what story is, but also what story means. But at the same time, the structure that I've designed is designed to help everyone be able to fully understand this stuff. So one of the core aspects that I use is every moment of story is an emotion, behavior, belief, and value. So every character has those four aspects. If a character comes over and knocks on the door to come celebrate a holiday, you'll have a character who gets really happy, gives them a hug, believes that friendship is really valuable, and then absolutely values every single aspect of that person. And so that's also how our memories are made. And that to me is the clear aspect, is that as much as I love the archetypes of old, being able to understand it based on who we are, not just the symbols, not just what everyone else has done, but who we are is a key aspect. So, yeah, a big aspect of this structure is to allow everyone to understand this and utilize that. Whether you're crafting stories for large audiences, whether you're just trying to communicate with your friends, whether you're trying to communicate just with yourself.
Mm. It's really important because, as you know, I love storytelling. I've published over 750 authors telling their fabulous stories. Is this to be used more when you are wanting to be a writer and create stories, or is it more when you want to reflect and do journaling and do things in regards to your own story? Is it about future journaling when you want to manifest your yet to be story? Is it all included, or are you loving to guide us in a way, one way or the other?
It is all inclusive for sure. And the reason why is I designed it to be that way. So one of the big aspects that I utilize is every story consists of 5 parts. You have a need, which I use universal needs from Abraham Maslow, a conflict, a resonance, a connection, and then a value, which I utilize Eric Erickson's values. And so these needs and values are universal, but they can also apply to each one of us, and they can apply in a great many ways. The first need is to feel cared for, and we see that in babies who physically need to be cared for, but also in identities that need to be cared for in order to grow who we really are. So the way that I arrange stories are a little different. So when I do creativity, I utilize those 4 aspects: the emotion, behavior, belief, and value. I put 7 of those together to create a scene. I put those 5 scenes together to create a segment, and then I use 7 segments to create a story. And each story is different. So you have the story of the protagonist, but then you might have a potential story with them and their love interest, a partial story of a villain backstory. That, especially if you've got like a trilogy, a friendship that develops partly in one book and then partly in several others. And so a narrative is a collection of those stories. But coming over here and teaching branding like I do, what I say is that you have the consumer who has a need and a conflict that's holding them back, but then your product is the resonance, that middle part that's designed to pull them out of the conflict and connect them with what they need to be connected to so they can obtain that value. So it's designed to approach everything, but the way that I approach it utilizes all the same parts, but I rearrange those parts for each individual spot. So talking
Mhm.
about journaling and reflection and your future self, for me, the key is, okay, what is the most prominent emotion that you have right now? And when you figure that out, you can figure out what your emotions are, your behaviors, your beliefs, and your values, and you can figure out, where are you at? Are you in an area where you need something? Are you in the conflict? Do you need to feel connected to it? And by tracking where you are now and tracking where you've come from, you could know where you are in this journey, and you could know where you need to go next in order to utilize that best aspect of yourself. So if you're being told in school that you need to be very conscientious, diligent, and hardworking, and those are good traits to have, but you don't even know if that's what you want to be doing, you need to be activating your openness trait, the excitement in your life from doing something new, that you have the potential to find out who you really are. And when you know these things, it can kind of push you forward. And for me personally, my end goal is be able to utilize AI to figure this out so that everyone has access to a map that can take them from where they are to where they need to be.
Interesting. Do you feel like part of the process of learning and molding and growing and fostering the skills that we need, we must go through that journey ourselves and we must walk through it and search through it and find our way versus necessarily following a map?
Well, the map isn't necessarily just supposed to be a map. I mean, theoretically speaking, movies that are really well done, books, video games, even podcasts, and that give you a ton of information. TV shows like this that help you reach in and find people that you connect
Mm,
with, whether you connect with a real person or a fictional character. All those aspects are in and of themselves maps that we can utilize to try and walk away from one aspect or another. I,
mm,
I utilize my system because there's a very clear universal way to do story, but whether the movie is good or bad, you'll have people who enjoy it more or less, depending on a few
true.
factors. But one of the biggest is how well they connect to it. So it is absolutely essential that we go through that experience. But the difference is that having a map means you at least know where the path is. I
Mm,
myself have been through areas to where I've gotten so stuck in one spot, and I was willing to put the work in to get out of that spot, but I never had the map needed to move forward. And so I think that both are the key, because you're still walking that path. It's not
true.
completely free for you. There's still going to be pain and everything else, but the ability to know where to go is absolutely key. And there's three aspects to it. There's a universal aspect, like I talked about, the universal needs and values, but then there's the general aspect of it. Are you more of a conscientious person, more of an open person? We utilize the big five, whether you utilize that, the MBTI, or whatever personality system you prefer. Those are the general sides, so where you can be categorized with a collection of others, but then our memories make us unique. And when we recognize all three of those avenues, we can create a plan that says, universally, this is the direction you're supposed to go. Generally, these are where people who are similar to you will go somewhere to something similar to this. And then we can say, but because you love this, because this is who you are, this is the next step in your journey. So you still have to go through it, but then
Mm.
that means, I guess, metaphorically speaking, that you won't get lost.
Yeah, I like that a lot. I mean, my husband and I, we cycle our bicycles every year to all different places, different countries. We have a map. It's a general direction of where we're headed. We have kind of an endpoint of where we think we want to get to. And the map does have roads and paths and all kinds of things on it. But actually, it's the process of doing it that is really the power of the experience. And lots of times you get off track, you get into a detour, you hit an obstacle, literally and metaphorically. And that is really the yumminess of it all, allowing a little bit of serendipity along with a little bit of direction, really sort of understanding. And you're right, you can be, somebody likes to go hiking and the other person likes to go to the movie theater, and somebody wants to see the waterfall and somebody wants to see the dinosaur park. I mean, it's kind of actually fascinating that we are so unique. As we go along, we find the things that resonate so well with us. How can we be bringing this all back into humanity? How can this be really helping us have a better humanity?
Taking a second to go back to what you were talking about, going out and cycling, but still having a map. One of the coolest parts about Google Maps is that you can type in a very specific place and it'll take you there. It'll tell you exactly how long it'll take to get there, depending on whether you're walking, biking, driving. It utilizes, everyone's data and information, traffic lights, all that stuff. But there's also a button there that just says explore, to where
Mm,
you don't know where you're supposed to go, but and this kind of comes back to what I was talking about, these universal needs. So, for a very physical example, everyone needs to eat. And if you're in a strange place, and they probably have a McDonald's, something somewhat familiar, but if you're in a strange place outside of those franchises, or you want to try something new, you can click that explore button. And it says, I know you need food, but it is time to explore who you are in the direction you're trying to go with. And that's also a part of what we're trying to do. And
mm,
bringing that back into your question about what does this mean for how we ignite humanity? For me, it comes down to everything everything that we've gone through in life that creates some sort of negative feeling comes down to us having a problem that someone else was not able to fix. And when we go through that problem and we find a way to fix it, we can add that to other people's lives. And it can be something massive, it can be something small. But the ideal way to be able to do that is by going through that journey yourself and being able to create those solutions. So when we're able to help people develop those solutions, we are increasing everyone's ability to impact other people's lives. It is the ability to help drive solutions and moments and movements forward so that every single problem can be covered by at least someone. For every problem that you fix, whether that's, directly or indirectly, no matter how far down the chain it goes.
I just was saying that yesterday on the show. I was saying, like, if we realize that whatever we're going through, somebody else has gone through it ahead of us. There's probably not a problem in the world that somebody hasn't gone through it already. And to search out those people for solutions, ideas, wisdom, input, those sorts of things really can help our own process, instead of feeling like we have to do it all by ourselves. We have to do it all alone. We have to scrape our knees all by ourselves. Searching out other people who have gone through similar things really creates this idea of community and really allows people to come together. Talk a little bit about how when we have a similar story or we've gone through a similar journey, it creates more connection and more camaraderie.
So I talked before about how we have emotions, behaviors, beliefs, and values. And that's so easy to just be very general about it. But you can actually categorize all of that. So joy and sorrow really connect well with extroversion, which connects well with imaginative thinking, which connects really well with benevolent and universal values. And I pulled all these things from Robert, who did the emotions. You've got the big five. You've got Shalom Schwartz did a lot of the universal values work. And so when I'm able to connect these things, this is where things get very theoretical. But I'm a big fan of the movie Inside Out, and I take that movie
Yes.
as sort of a way. Oh, it's great. Um, it's I take that not necessarily literally, but I take that as kind of the imagined side to where you have four different characters for the different aspects that we go through. I don't use neuroticism from the big five, but the other four behaviors I use. And the way that we engage with other people through our personas, that's what I call public personas. And when we're talking with our parents who want us to get good grades in school, we have to put our conscientiousness first. We have to put that diligence and focus and hardworking first. And that is, if we're really weak in that area, it can make that relationship very challenging. Whereas
Mm,
if we're with our friends and we tend to be very agreeable, very submissive, want to do what everyone else wants to do, but they want to go do something that's perhaps a bit of a more adrenaline driven aspect, that's something to where if that openness side is there, it's going to be a struggle for us. Now, we should absolutely take the aspects of us that are weaker and improve on those things. However, it's absolutely ideal, first and foremost, to recognize our strengths and be able to move forward with that. And that's really what it comes down to is the character that is in front. Do we see that character in front of other people? It takes 7 seconds to develop a first impression. And that's really what it comes down to is just being able to engage and know, hey, is my strongest character the same as their strongest character? And does that allow us to connect and move along? People will tell you, especially in the narrative industry, that they need a flaw, they need a goal, they need something like that. And that's great, but that takes time. And that really deepens the relationship. But
mhm.
the first key that you want to have is that someone is emotional about doing something because they believe it will get them closer to what means the most to them. For me, I struggled communicating growing up, and it created a whole ton of pain for me. Pain that might not ever go away, but when I connect with someone through these aspects, when I connect with people who are similar, who have those similar aspects to me, and then as we get to know each other more, have a deeper story that connects in an even stronger way, it's one of those things that allows me to live in the moment, which again, that pain of the past never goes away. That fear of the future does not always go away, but living in the moment helps remove you from that.
And do you find that it's like that real level of authenticity that really comes out that people are so hungry for? That's where they want to know, that's what they want to see, that's what they're looking for, to really see you at an authentic level instead of pretending or living out these character traits or being in a certain way that we think is correct in front of our parents, in front of our peers, in front of our bosses, instead of having that very authentic, this is who I am narrative.
I'm going to be a little controversial here because,
Why
authenticity is
not? Bring it on. Let's do
I love
it.
with it. Authenticity is a big buzzword, and it's an absolutely huge buzzword in branding, right? The thing that they'll talk about in business is you want to find your ideal consumer. And one of the things that I do is I help people develop a what I call a product narrative. It's an emotion, behavior, belief, and value. And then I connect that to like the MBTIs because the Myers-Briggs typing indicator is the biggest one. And then they can utilize that to find their ideal consumers, and it makes the sales process easier. It makes marketing easier, advertising easier. And so there is this huge advantage to authenticity. And it is key for us to be authentic. But I don't think the struggle is being authentic. I think that people who are not authentic, it's just the fact that they don't know themselves. They don't know their
Mm,
story. Or
mhm.
on the flip side, I say that there are 8 emotions, 4 positives and 4 negatives. And on the flip side, if they are being authentic, they're probably activating their more negative side. if you have someone who tends to be really angry, they're probably one of the most generous people that you know. But because people have not been generous to them, allowed them to be who they are, their anger kicks in as a defense mechanism. Fear of the future comes from the idea that we're not excited to be able to tackle the things that we need to tackle. And so when you're dealing with that lack of authenticity, I think it comes from either not knowing yourself or trying to get rid of that shadow self that Young talked about, and trying to come back into a side where you can be positive, even if it's not your strength. So
Mm.
people don't necessarily want the authenticity. They want you to be able to connect with them and relate to them. The problem is that the farther you go into your story, then the more likelihood that that relationship can break. And there is, especially in the gaming world, this idea of the sunk cost fallacy, to where if you invest a lot of time or money into something, you have to use it and you have to walk away from that. But it's so difficult that I think that the key to authenticity is more about, if I'm investing time into you, I want to know that this relationship is going to last a long time. Even whether that's in a fictional character, whether it's a real life relationship, romantic, friendship, even with a business and a brand, people want to
Mhm.
know that their investment is going to pay off in the long term, and they don't want that broken. So I think that authenticity is that desire to make sure that the connections are ideal so that it can be something that goes on theoretically forever.
Yeah, well said. And when we meet people at a party and they're not being authentic and we don't resonate with them, or we make friends with people who are being unauthentic and we think that's who they really are, we create friendships, and then those friendships, those bonds are broken. And you're right, it's about trust. And you made me think of the word realness, like really being real and really being the real version of you is what really creates a better connection. Let's wrap this all back into humanity. How is it that we can use some of the skills that you are sharing with us to create a better relationship in our families, in our communities, and in our countries?
I think that the first key to this is to start off by understanding each individual person as best as we can. And again, if we sit back and we say, okay, there are four parts to every person, one that is either happy or sad, one that's angry or generous, one that's excited or scared, and one that's trustful or disgusted, then
Mm.
we can sit back and we can recognize the things that they do, the behaviors that connect with the emotions or the emotions that they have. And we know that if they're utilizing that, that's a front facing side for them. If they're using the negative side to that, then that side is weaker, and you want to be able to attach to them with their strength. If you have a person who comes into a store ranting and raving, very upset, very angry, and you get angry with them, they'll calm down because they're a generous person who thought they were going to get taken advantage of. And if they feel like someone else is fighting for them, they'll return to that positive state. The same thing is
Mm.
true with everything else. How do you get yourself to return to that positive state? By recognizing that your negativity is just a response to what's going on around you. When someone else is negative, how do you go onto their level and talk with them to where they have what they need to be positive, to move forward in their life? And then when you do that, when you're able to communicate that with them, they end up in a state to where they're not just positive, but they're able to listen, they're willing to grow, and it creates something to where everyone is able to move forward and learn this stuff. And it creates this chain reaction going forward that we can create a very positive world just through communication.
I so agree with you. How we communicate, even our timing on communication is so important. Not jumping to conclusions, not picking up the phone right away and making a response and without taking the time to think through it. The timing we put on our communication is so important. Obviously, the narrative that we put in, the inflection, the tone, it is so important. We are truly going to ignite humanity with better communications. All right. Well, just before we end, what is the solution you have for us to take home with us today?
Solutions are absolutely a huge thing for me. I know that I've helped a lot of people. Again, like I said, I teach branding now, but I've helped a lot of people on the mental health side. I did a lot of work in creativity before. And for me, scaling that aspect is very important to me. So I work a lot with AI, especially with the way that the current large language models are now, and being able to break things down into simplistic enough terms. We're able to utilize AI as a way to supplement where people struggle and help people out. So I'm definitely big on solutions. But to give someone a solution to where they are now, or give someone a solution to help somebody else, it comes down basically to what I was saying earlier, to stop and to take time and to listen. And you mentioned timing, and timing is absolutely critical, but some people want to use time as just a way to tell someone to cool off. But if someone is angry, it is time to be angry with them. It is time to get on their level, because when you communicate with them in the language, in the deep unconscious language that they understand, you create an impossible to break connection to where they will want to come back to you every single time. And I utilize that in business especially, but eventually in terms of mental health, when they come back to you and when they learn more and more, eventually they become that person for somebody else. And it creates this chain link fence. And so I work on scale, I work on impact, but every individual can have that impact going forward if they just learn how to listen to the language, the deep unconscious language that's being communicated with.
So important and so well said. We need to listen and be connected. One of the principles of Igniting Humanity is to raise the consciousness, raise your own consciousness, be aware of others. Thank you so much, my darling. Very interesting conversation. Absolutely excited to find out more. And folks, if you want to find out more about what Isaac is up to, please check out and give him an email. Actually, send him an email, send him something, a communication, and ask how you can find out a bit more. Share a little bit about what you loved about the show, and reach out by Gmail. All right. Thank you so much. Have a great day. And thanks for being on the show.
Thank you so much for having me.
Absolutely. Yeah, very interesting conversation when you think about it. If you were really to unpack the narrative of your story and to just look at where you are in those human behaviors and get interested in the kind of person that you are, and maybe take some of those wonderful little behavioral quizzes, or finding out what your personality type is. It's so interesting to get the tools you need to be the best version of yourself and to support others around you in the work that you are doing to ignite those on the planet. All right. Well, if you'd love to know what we're up to here at Ignite Humanity, we love to share. Please go on over to our website, ignitehumanity.life. That's right. You can find all kinds of interesting things over there about the books that we are doing. We are doing a massive compilation book, 280 stories told by people just like you and their Ignite moment and what has inspired them to ignite humanity. We also have other books coming up. And just like Isaac, our next book is Ignite Creativity. So I'm super excited to talk to him about that. If you're a creative and you would like to be in our next compilation book, go on over to our website and apply at ignitehumanity.life and check out our new creativity book. If you are interested in igniting literacy, well, we are doing amazing things building schools in third world countries, and we'd love to have your donation. Every dollar you donate buys a brick to one of our schools, and it helps support literacy around the globe. And last but not least, if you're in the Vegas area or want an excuse to go to Vegas, May 16th and 17th, we are doing an incredible event, Gather-rama in Las Vegas, talking about your book and your brand and your business and those amazing breakthroughs that you want to bring forth in your life. We hope to see you there. All right, take care, everybody. We'll see you tomorrow.
Now, more than ever, we need to come together to connect with one another. We need to feel the truth in who we are and let go of everything that's happened in the past. We need to empower every person on the planet and awaken hearts, enliven souls, come together, laugh, play, rejoice, connect, create, and love. It's time to ignite humanity. We want you to be a part of something that will impact the future for everyone. We want you to tell your story, share your Ignite moment, show people who you truly are. Be a part of igniting humanity and making a difference in the world and all of our futures.